So the light changes from location to location, and that's been a really important thing. Reid has been very kind of, not insistent, but kind of very enthusiastic about trying to hold that contrast, that we have the contrast of Ireland playing Scotland, where it's all dark and moody, to Madrid, where the light's bouncing around the buildings, to that amazing Serra's house, where the light's very different because you're in a big open space with a massive view down to the lake and the mountains beyond, to Almeria, which is playing Tangier, which has a very different kind of light. It's contrasty and moody and confusing because you go from dark to light to dark to light. And then there's going to be a rather exciting car chase, to say the least. I mean, it's quite amazing, which again is going to be changes of light and mood and slightly confusing the audience in a good sense of, you know, the whole intention is to be with the actor all the time, you know, with Stephanie. You are Stephanie's point of view, you know, we're inside that car, you know. Reid is a very collegiate character, very open, is very clear what she wants, but is very open to listening and to, so been a very creative and very good experience, really. So the house, the white cottage that you see, the two-storey cottage, that was here. That was an old fishing lodge that the local estate built in the 19th century. But it had been abandoned for many years. It was in reasonably good condition inside, so we did a lot of renovations on that to kind of paint it to what we want and to repair little bits and pieces and just one or two leaks and clean the chimney and stuff like that and make some of the kind of stairs safe, things like that. And then we built all the Nissan huts that you see behind, and then all of the dressing and all the ancillary.
The rhythm section is a story about Stephanie, our protagonist, who loses her family before the film even begins, and we find her in a very destitute situation, and she's given an opportunity to sort of seek vengeance for her family once she finds out that the plane crash that they died in was not an accident, but actually an act of terror. SERRA is sort of an information broker. He knows where people are, how to find them, how to get to them, etc. And people pay him quite well for the information that he has access to. We meet SERRA fairly later on in the film. Stephanie is undergoing a transformation. She begins the film as a prostitute and is now sort of becoming a covert ops sort of specialist. And Boyd has helped her make this transformation, and now she's seeking out SERRA because he has information to help her find U-17, who is the individual responsible for the bombing of her parents' plane. And so she comes to Madrid, Spain, to find him because that's where SERRA is living, and with the hopes of sort of coaxing him into giving her the information necessary to ultimately find U-17. It is an intimate experience shooting with her because she is boundaryless, you know, and is giving direction while behind the camera and always challenging her actors to do something different. Like if she feels it becoming too routine, she's like, no, just scream it, shout it, like do something completely different. And you say, okay. Actor to actor, you know when you look in someone's eyes and you see just how present they are, she's gonna blow people away. Mrs. Reynolds got skills to pay the bills, and I'm happy to really have this experience with her because not only did I make a friend out of it, but I've become a fan of her work as well. She's so committed, so focused, and nothing like who she is as a person. She's a very vivacious, lively, you know, ebullient person, and this character is not that at all whatsoever. folks are going to be a little shocked. Well, this is my first time in Spain working on rhythm section, and it's an absolutely gorgeous country. Madrid is a majestic city. Done a lot of exploring with my family. Ate in the oldest restaurant in the world just the other day, which was pretty cool. And then the set for my house is just gorgeous, overlooking this ridiculous lake with this back porch. You know, simple house, but modern, cool, slick. It feels very much like where Serra would be. I'm excited because the way that she's described the choreography as well, it's not of someone who's like trained in Krav Maga, you know what I'm saying? It's not like that. It's someone who's thinking on their feet and figuring it out as they go along. So it's gonna be stage combat as part of our storytelling. You know, you're not taking a break from the plot in order to go into an action scene. They go hand to hand, and I love that about this film. She's not polished, is our protagonist of this film. She has pretty much no idea what she's doing, and she stumbles through a lot of it. But it's such an interesting origin story for someone who could be like the next super spy. And I think that's what it was. It was an origin story. I don't know if I remember like the origin of Bond. Bond is always Bond. But we get a chance to see Stephanie become who she's going to be as the series moves forward. That's interesting.
This is about a woman who wreaks revenge on her family's death, and she turns her life around, but she also weighs up the price of her soul in doing so. I play a guy called Ian Boyd, or Boyd as he's really just referred to, and he is military trained. You get a sense early on that he's perhaps been involved with or is involved with MI6. He is discovered in the outreaches of Scotland. He's in the middle of nowhere, and is found by Stephanie almost by accident. And you learn a little bit about his own background, but in essence, he becomes the trainer and the consultant, if you like, of Stephanie Patrick. He's also recruits her, really. He recruits her and sets her on her mission and guides her throughout it. It's a mental journey for Stephanie, and it's a physical journey. Boyd has to clean her up. He also has to physically put her into a situation where she can handle herself. He also has to test her under pressure. And psychologically, he has to make sure that she's not going to crack and that she's motivated and committed to the cause that she keeps claiming to be obsessed by. You know, the fact that the female lead is in such desperate situation at the beginning, and to see her slowly but therefore realistically pull herself together and put herself into this situation, very, very different situation, is quite unique, I think. And they don't take any shortcuts. There's no sort of glamorous transformation, or well, there is eventually, but they take their time about it, and they earn it. And that was very much on the page. When you're in an environment like that, it just leaps into the camera, and you get these extraordinary shifts of light and weather, and it's spectacular, truly spectacular. And important that you get a sense, first of all, of the bleak loneliness of this environment, so that you understand the mentality of this character, but also the sheer beauty that he's escaped to a place safe and almost zen-like within himself. Again, it's really hard to get stuff, I think, understated and real, and that's been the case in both the set and the costumes. You know, it's never felt like we've suddenly leapt out of the world that we are working hard emotionally to sort of create. and they always ground you as an actor. You know, what you're wearing and the environment you're in really helps to build up a sense of reality. Well, Reed was one of the primary reasons I took the job. I'd seen her work, and I was really excited when we met. She had a great vision, and she had a great energy about her, and a great enthusiasm, and I liked her take on the script. I liked that she wanted and was excited by its roughness and rawness. They encourage and facilitate Reed's enthusiasm and a vision. And yet I also look to producers, and you know that you're in incredibly safe hands and that they've got you covered, and also the product and the projects that they've provided in the past, or produced in the past rather, are you know, of incredibly high quality. So it's the perfect mix and match, really. There's an element of thrill to it. Will she, won't she, will she, won't she? I think got a great narrative of revenge, and you wanting her to fulfill that sense of revenge, but equally you realise she's on a bigger journey, that she's cleaning herself up, that she's learning to respect herself, and I suppose ultimately is she going to find all the answers through the revenge path, or is she going to find the answers for herself?
I think it's just a brilliantly fast-paced action thriller, but at the heart of it, there's a real gritty story. Reed's done a fantastic job at making sure that the truth behind these characters comes to screen, and I think Blake does such an extraordinary job in this movie in a way that people won't necessarily expect. Proctor's at quite a kind of a turning point in his life at the start of the movie. He's been a journalist for a while, but never had a story as big as this. And this is really potentially explosive for his career. I mean, this is not only a fantastic thing for him to reveal the information that he's found out, it also means he might win prizes as a result. So he's excited about releasing this information, getting it out in the world. But of course, when he meets Stephanie, he realizes that there's a human cost to this story too. And he sees what she has become. And it takes him to some quite dark places. What's fascinating about the Proctor and Stephanie story for me, I think you realise that really it's his relationship with Stephanie that might be a catalyst to turn Stephanie into what she becomes later in the movie. At the start of the movie, there's pretty much no hope for Stephanie, and there's something about what goes on between Proctor and Stephanie that enables her to see a new way and possibly start to get clean and turn that resentment that she has into something else and turn her into the character that she becomes later in the movie. Blake is such a wonderful actress to work with. Honestly, on set, when you see someone be able to kind of plumb those depths, and it's a role that people wouldn't necessarily expect the beautiful, wonderful Blake Lively to play. She's not afraid of being totally kind of denuded in who she is as a personality on set, and it's extraordinary to see. It really is. She's not scared of going there, which is all you can ask from someone you're acting opposite. It's such an unusual place to be on a set where a director is as interested on a movie like this, which ostensibly could be a straightforward action movie. It's such a treat to work with someone who wants to give it so much colour and life. And together with Sean, our extraordinary DP, the atmosphere that's created on this set, what it's given to the storytelling, I think is really wonderful. Reed is just amazing to me. I think she's going to be kind of one to watch the years to come. Not that she hasn't already been, but I think many of the most kind of loved movies of the years to come will be Reed Morano's. She's an extraordinary director to work with. I think it's fantastic that we have pretty much an all-female team with our director Reed and our producer Barbara and our wonderful leading lady heading up this movie. What I think is really wonderful about it is that
the more movies like this that are made in this way, the more it just becomes the norm, and it's not something we even think about. You know, at the moment, it's kind of something to be noted because it doesn't happen very often. But yeah, hopefully in years to come, it's not even something we'll think about. It'll be a great movie and stand up in its own right. It doesn't matter whether it's a man or a woman directing or producing. We're all there just doing it. Yeah, our art department have done such a fantastic job on this. They really have. I mean, you know, we're so blessed here to be here working on this stage at the moment. And originally we were in Ireland doing this. Now we've recreated the set here in Madrid. And yeah, it's a wonderful set to work on. It's so detailed. I mean, if you get to see in the back of some of those shots just how much detail there is in the wall about every one of those families, everyone who was supposed to have been on the plane, everyone has a little backstory. Makes my job very easy when I walk around the walls and see the research that my character's supposed to have done. It's all there for me to see. And what it gives us, it paints a picture of Proctor as someone who's been obsessed by finding out what's gone on for the past couple of years now.
You have to adapt your fights, your style of the fights to the story, to the character, which is the most important part of our job, because a punch is still a punch, but according to the character, I don't know, a doctor not gonna give the same punch as a killer, as an ex-wrestler, it's still a punch, but it's not the same intention, it's not the same character. So it's gonna look like a different punch, if you see what I mean. So first thing is to be really, really close and really take care of what the story, what that scene tell to the audience at that moment. She starts like a normal person, and at the end of the film, it's like she's gonna become an assassin now. So, and we need to make that believable and understand how she get through to succeed, to achieve that. We talk a lot with Reed and with Blake about that, about how someone who is not an assassin, who's not get trained, she has a bit of experience with Boyd in story-wise, but even at that stage, she's not a pro at all. She doesn't have a lot of skills in martial arts or things like that, and she's never been on the field in a real operation, which is a real big difference for that kind of stuff. And especially the first thing she's gonna have to learn is to deal with the stress.
I've enjoyed it immensely, and I've enjoyed the efficiency of screenwriting, having to learn that efficiency. You have very little space on the page and very few pages in which to write the script, and learning all of those tricks and shortcuts and thinking about how you can condense things into a look rather than a line, and how you have to restrain yourself when you might want a new scene here just to make a point, but actually they're never going to go for a scene because that's a whole scene to make a small point. Learning all of that sort of stuff has been, it's been absolutely fascinating. I think with our sort of female troika of Barbara, Reed and Blake, I think that's fantastic, and I think I'm sure people will talk about this when it comes out, and I think the only disappointing aspect about that is that they'll feel the need to talk about it because it should have happened ages ago, really. But I'm certainly just glad to be part of it. Boyd's a tough guy because he's a tough guy. It's his makeup, but it's also his experience, and that's what he's been exposed to. So he's kind of tough because he's always been tough, but he's coming up against a girl who she may be completely you may be completely wrecked when she arrives, but she actually has a lot more resilience than he can guess at when she first arrives. So he needs to be tough because eventually he's going up against a very tough woman. What I'm seeing is she's absolutely exceeded all of my sort of hopes and expectations for Stephanie. And over the years, there has been a long roll call of people going through my head of who I think would be ideal to play Stephanie. But right now, I'm looking at Blake, and she is Stephanie. I mean, I really feel that. If I'm writing something about Stephanie again in the future, I'm going to be seeing Blake doing it, and I'm going to be hearing her voice in my head. And I've really been impressed by the way she's completely thrown herself into Stephanie. You know, we were talking about the transformation earlier from Stephanie when she's Lisa going into Petra, but actually the transformation of seeing Blake go into Stephanie, that's really more extraordinary to me than anything, you know. A brilliant choice, yeah. But Jude's doing a terrific job, and he looks, I hope he's enjoying it because he looks like he does, you know, and he's really, we were talking about the physical environment we're in here, he looks like he fits. And he very much looks like, he really does look like Boyd as I envisaged him 20 years ago. He's got the right mixture, he's got the right age, he's got the right physicality, he's got the right sort of flintiness, and I get the impression he looks as though he's enjoying shooting out here in the same way that Boyd just enjoys being out here. And I like that sort of balance. He's got, he's a hard guy, you know, and he's a hard guy to get into, Boyd, but Jude's got that sort of look where you can picture, you can tell that he's not some sort of inhuman robot, but there's a lot to get through before you actually get to what's underneath, and that is the essence of Boyd, really. Barbara, Michael and Greg have been great, and Jane Ann as well, in helping me to deliver the script that we have. Their notes are, I always, when I know there are some notes coming, there was a slight sense of trepidation when I look at them. It always seems overwhelming, but actually it isn't and hasn't been overwhelming. They've nearly always been an improvement. Reed is, she's terrific. I mean, anybody who's on the set here will tell you the same thing. She's good fun, and actually the atmosphere, she keeps a very good atmosphere on the set, which has been really, as the writer of the book and as the writer of the script, to come down has been lovely to see. But that atmosphere on the set is the same since I first met her. And she's been incredibly enthusiastic. She wanted to make something, she was very generous and said that she wanted to make something that I, as the creator of Stephanie and as the writer of the original novel, would feel really happy to lend my name to, and it's, to be frank, what I'm seeing so far, it's sort of exceeding that already.
The whole way through, Rita has had a really unique and specific vision for this film, which is to make it as deeply personal as possible, to make us feel that it's almost a first-person view story. And it's very deeply psychological, and we're basically with Stephanie, the character, the whole way through her journey. What makes this character different from a lot of maybe assassin stories or revenge stories that actually is that she's not really an assassin. Mostly she's just faking it, and she's basically a normal person thrust into an extreme situation, and it doesn't have all the training that one would necessarily require to pull off what she does. Sheer luck and determination basically means she gets away with it, but just barely. Well, it's really just a testament to how brave Blake has been with embracing this role and throwing herself into it completely. She's done an incredible job. You know, it feels, I certainly don't envy what she's had to go through on this film, being driven in this pod car, being pushed over cliffs, running out of buses about to explode, and of course in very brutal, intense fight sequences. But she's done an incredible job. She's really trained so hard. We also filmed in Madrid, which was great because it was the one city in Spain that's actually for Spain in the film. So we have Madrid as Madrid in the movie. And that was great. It gave us a chance to really open up the scope of the movie. It's a really interesting point in the story because it's when Stephanie kind of embarks on her own and has to kind of figure out how she's going to do this mission herself without any assistance. And it's also the chance that you get to meet the character of Serra, played by Sterling K. Brown. And that is a very crucial relationship to the story. Mark Burnell is the writer both of the original novel, Rhythm Section, and our screenplay, and he has been a great guiding force throughout all of this process. We've been with him since the beginning. For many, many years we've been trying to get this film made, so it is a very exciting time for all of us. And luckily he's been very involved also in the production. He is also an executive producer. He's been around helping us because naturally there are differences between the character of the film and the character of the novels. We've changed the screenplay a little bit from what the book is, and so now those things are new territory for Mark. In a way, he's now got parallel. He's continuing with the books, which is one version of the character, but now we have the movie version of the character, which basically Blake Lively and Reed Morano have created and is different from the one in the novels. We really have the dream team leading this picture between our director Reed, our producer Barbara, and our fabulous leading lady Blake Lively. We really have an incredible trio and a very dynamic group, and they work so well together. They love each other to death, and that just means they're willing to go the extra mile for each other all the time, every day. So I think that is something it's a really rare thing to find on a film set, and we're very lucky to have it.